Professor of Social Work Chair and EPCC Mental Health Committee. The session will be recorded so that you may come back to it later if you need, and so others who may have missed out on today's events will be able to come and watch it. Thank you. So now, at this time, please mute your mics for the best sound experience, otherwise the feedback could interfere with information we will be sharing today. Without further ado, here is Mr. Salas.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. So the quintessential question, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Perfect. You know, that's our new normal. Can you hear me now? I feel like the Verizon guy, right? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? 2022, and we're still asking if you can hear us. All right, well, welcome, guys. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this afternoon. Like stated, my name is Chris Salas. I'm an assistant professor of social work at the Valle Verde campus, and I have the privilege of now going on my second year of serving as the chair of the mental health committee here for El Paso Community College. Before we get started, I would like to make some acknowledgments, and first and foremost, I'd like to thank my peers and my colleagues of the Mental Health Committee for their continuous work, not only ensuring and promoting the mental health and mental well-being of our students, but also pushing for mental health and mental well-being of our colleagues, our faculty, and our staff. And of utmost also importance is a huge thank you to the staff of Tejano Virtual Events for seeing something in me and continue to bring me along. So I haven't messed up yet if they keep on bringing me back. So thank you very much appreciated for always thinking about me and giving me this space to, you know, yap my mouth a little bit. All right, so before we get started, and so that you all know, I like to make my stuff interactive, just like my classes. You know, if not, it's just very boring and bland. So let's start off with a really quick question. How was y'all sleep last night? Did you sleep? How was it? Was it good sleep, bad sleep, no sleep? How'd it go? Okay, Kristen, we got good. What else? Good sleep. Good, woke up by an alarm. Whoa, Amber Alert. Yeah, that does. No, great. I thought I could go without the heat up. Yep. Great. Yeah, you know, good old Paso weather. It's 78 degrees one day and then it shoots down to about 30 the next. So how about that? I guess self-disclosure, mine wasn't that great just because our little baby boy, who actually turned 9 months yesterday, he started teething this week. He got his first little tooth, actually 2 little teeth on the bottom, this past Wednesday, and so man, he has not been a happy camper, and it just seems that it always happens at night, right, when the pain is the worst. So mom and I have, you know, we're running on fumes, but we got it. So the reason why I always talk about, well, hold on, I'm not going to spoil myself. Speaking of, if you've been to any of my presentations before, you know, I don't call them learning outcomes. I don't call them this. I call them spoiler alerts, because I tell you from the beginning what it is that we're going to be talking about. And you'll decide already if you're like, hey, this is something worth listening to, or I got better things to do. So we're going to be talking about strong body, discussing about, you know, your sleep, and even just servicing your body as a whole. We're going to talk about strong mind, right? My bread and butter. And talking about the difference between mental health and mental illness. We really aren't going to concentrate too much on the difference, but talk about how we can ensure the mental well-being of yourselves, your students, your colleagues, and just everybody in general. And finish off with a strong you. I mean, that's why you're here. So, excuse me. Let's move on. Yes. So before being at EPCC, I was a therapist. I was a psychotherapist. I worked at various clinics, nonprofit, for-profit, and treated mental illnesses, mental health issues, substance abuse. And I recall one of the when I first started working as a therapist, I was helping put together an internship program for MSW students for NMSU. And I had the privilege of working with a Dr. Thomas Thompson. Dr. Thompson was an amazing neuropsychiatrist. And I got to shadow him a couple of times, actually for more than a couple of times, and every time he would walk into a patient to see a patient and examine and evaluate a patient, that was his first question. He would always ask, "How was your sleep?" And as a rookie therapist, I was like, yeah, okay, he's trying to get the ball rolling, do some small talk, but it was always the same question. And I was like, okay, maybe this is like the how's the weather, how was your drive? That's this to go thing. How was your sleep? And so one time I mustered up the courage to say, I'm sure I'm going to sound stupid, but sir, how come you always ask about sleep? Like, how come that's always your to go question? He's like, simple. Why not? Not only that, but if you really think about it, a lot of the mental illnesses and a lot of mental issues stem from, or not stem from, but have symptoms related to sleep, either sleeping too much, sleeping too little, feeling keyed up and not be able to sleep or rest. And so, light bulb went off and had a huge duh moment. And so that, in essence, was his starting point. How is your sleep? Now, since then, I've gotten an opportunity to look at some different TED Talks, look at different studies, and we see the correlation between sleep and emotions. So, in essence, two main parts of the brain. You have the amygdala, which is kind of in the core and middle of the brain, and you have the frontal cortex. The amygdala is what regulates your expression, your emotional expression, your reactions, basically. And the prefrontal cortex is like the CEO of you, right? They do all your executive functions. When you get a good night's sleep, and believe it or not, there's people that can function with 6, 7, 8, even 9 hours. It just depends on who you are and you in general. But if you get what is defined as a good night's sleep for you, the connection and the communication between the prefrontal cortex and your amygdala is great. And so the response that the amygdala puts out is adequate to stress, to excitement, to anger, to anything. So I'm sure you've gone to, or you've had a moment where you're about to blow up and you kind of go like, okay, really, hold on now. That's not really appropriate. And you kind of bring yourself down. Well, I can assure you probably had a good night's sleep. And at that point, excuse me, that's your connection for the prefrontal cortex and your amygdala and the cortex saying, hey, we're fine, we're good, chill. But when you don't have a good night's sleep, that connection is not really there. And studies have shown that the amygdala overreacts about 60% of the time, or is firing at 60% more reactiveness than if you had good night's sleep. So there is a science behind your sleep and how you feel, your emotions. So that right off the bat should give you some idea as to the importance of sleep and not to, shortchange yourself. Now, there's also this notion that, well, I didn't sleep well last night. Let me catch up with sleep this time around. Yesterday I slept 4 or 5 hours. I'm going to sleep 10 hours, or I'm going to try and sleep 10 hours. It doesn't work that way. It's not like you fill up a cup, you emptied it sometime, and then next time you have to fill it up. That's not how it works. Uh, there are studies that show that when you have less sleep, there's uh, a particular protein in a fatty substance, a sticky substance in the brain that starts to increase. And that has been tied to there's a correlation between the amount of that protein in the brain and Alzheimer's. However, we do also show that when individuals sleep and they sleep their adequate amount of time, the brain has its own cleansing mechanism, kind of like it goes like the dishwasher goes on, and it cleanses the brain of the excess amounts of that protein. So even the amount of sleep that you have can potentially reduce the likelihood that you develop some sort of illness later on in life, in this case, Alzheimer's. But again, it's not a one-to-one correlation or a direct correlation. No, not myelin. It's beta. Illuminate, I think, not Illuminate. You know what? And I was going to write it down because I'm like, I'm going to need this, and of course I didn't. But it's a fatty, toxic protein that is created when you don't sleep, or that is overcreated, and it stays in the spinal fluid and in the brain. And but again, if you recharge yourself by getting a good night's sleep, that's why. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Exactly. I didn't get enough sleep, so that's why I forgot to write it down. Definitely. Yeah, we'll blame it on the baby. Nah, my baby boy. Anyways, um, but anywho, so there's a correlation at least that shows the importance of this of sleep, not the sleep, of sleep. Not only to your emotions and how you feel and how you react to different situations. Um, Even take a second to reflect and think of the times when you've maybe said something and or done something that is not typical of you. Now, can you recall maybe that happening when you weren't rested or you didn't have a good night's sleep? Maybe, maybe not, right? But again, the odds are that you probably or maybe had that situation occur on a day where your amygdala was overfiring because of that lack of sleep. Now, some sleep's do's and don'ts. Uh, we'll start off with caffeine because people, it makes sense. In the morning, there's mugs that say, don't talk to me until I've had my cup of coffee, or don't talk to me until my cup is here, or whatever. Now, do you know that caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours? In other words, if you have a cup of coffee, 6 hours from now, half of that cup of coffee or half of the caffeine in that cup of coffee is still circulating through your body, which means that the quarter life, in other words, a quarter, because it's half, so that's half, and then half of half is a fourth. So in about 9 to 10 hours, you still have a quarter of that caffeine still going through your body. Now, some people have this notion of like, well, I can definitely sleep even if I have caffeine. Well, if that's the case, okay. But caffeine will still make you more susceptible to being vigilant, to being alert at night. So you might sleep your 6, 7, 8 hours at night, but you're not going to get that really good REM stage 3, stage 4, stage 5 rest that you would typically get if that caffeine wasn't in your system. Excuse me. With that said, the next morning, you're not going to feel as rested as you think you felt, even if you got your 7, 8 hours of sleep. And you might have 2 cups of coffee instead of one because you're like, oh man, I feel extra tired today. Let me get an extra kick. So if that's the case, don't do that to yourself. Don't. How can I put this? Don't think that the caffeine is the solution. Now, the flip side of this is maybe at night you cap off your night with a beer, an alcoholic beverage of sorts. Now, alcohol is a depressant, not an antidepressant, it's a depressant, which basically means that it slows down the functions of the central nervous system. The central nervous system is primarily made up of the brain and the spinal cord. This is they direct everything and everything in your body. So if you depress the central nervous system, your breathing slows down, your heart rate slows down. In essence, it does have a quote unquote a sedative effect, but that's not how someone typically falls asleep. In a typical sleep cycle, your body or your brain gets to a point where all the components will fire off at the same time and then shut back down. Fire up and then shut back down. That's typical. That's normal. That doesn't happen when you introduce alcohol or this depressant, this sedative into your brain. And again, you might sleep the full amount of time, your typical amount of time, but you're not going to get that fulfilling, rich, deep sleep that really recharges the batteries, that really gets you rested and ready to go the next day. Now, we all have our lovely little boxes of technology and instant gratification of knowledge that we can Siri and Google and whatever, anything and everything, and get an answer within seconds. But as Stan Lee once wrote in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, I don't think many people are responsible when it comes to this, right? And I'm not gonna say who. I'm just kidding. But what do you do before you go to sleep? You might be looking through videos, going and screening through your Facebook page, or checking to see what your schedule looks like the next day. Well, the blue light that's created from this, and some people might say, well, I have a filter on my phone. Yeah, true. But even watching TV, being on your laptop, things of that nature can trick your brain into thinking it's daylight because of that absorption of the blue light. And so if your brain is tricked into thinking it's daylight, it's not going to want to go to sleep, right? We kind of get into this routine of things, and we'll talk about routine and consistency here in a little bit. But try and avoid using any type of technology, filter or not, about an hour before going to sleep. Now, this is something that we implemented with our 10-year-old. And he used to wake up at night a lot. He used to have nightmares a lot. And so we're like, this isn't really helping out. This is not working for us. So we implemented no technology of any kind 1 hour before going to bed. And so now he will do some of his chores. He'll get ready for bed, brush his teeth, go to the restroom, get water, read a book, do some drawing, things of that nature that kind of gets him to calm down and come back and get ready for bed. And so that's in essence creating a routine for him, and we're consistent with that. Even on days off, we're like, okay, you know what? We have your bedtime at 9 o'clock. On weekends, we'll just bump it up to 10 o'clock, but still there's no watching, no nothing, at least an hour before going to bed. Now, creating a routine kind of gets your body into that sensation of like, hey, we usually go to bed around this time. And so it starts getting you in that mood that it's time to shut down. It's time to get some rest. Now, I know it's not easy. It's not the easiest, and it's probably not the best sometimes for busy schedules and emergencies and such. But the more that you try to create a routine, the better it is, so that you, again, your mind, your body, and everything within you starts getting, oh man, I'm getting tired, getting sleepy. That's good. Again, you start creating a routine. Another thing that can really assist you in getting yourself ready for bed and or calming yourself down are breathing exercises. Now, as a musician, I can tell you breathing exercises where we use those to help expand our lungs and be able to play phrases, long phrases, and without breaking apart the phrases. Anywho, what you might want to do is, if you feel that you're kind of still amped up, or you still got some energy, you're really kind of not tired, what you might want to do is maybe sit by the edge of your bed, right on the side of your bed, feet flat on the floor, back straight. So again, it creates a straight column. And take deep breaths in. You can count to 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, and then push all the air out. So you would go like. And I'm sorry if I just blew out your eardrums by blowing into the microphone on my headset. So you do that for a couple of times, maybe 5, 6, 7. I'll give you a heads up though. If you get a little lightheaded, you're doing it right, especially if you've never done this before. What's happening physiologically is that you're increasing the amount of oxygen in your body. And in essence, what you're doing is you're creating a natural high. And by increasing the amount of oxygen in your body, your fingers might start getting tingly, and you might start getting a little lightheaded. And that kind of gets you a little woozy and starts, going to bed. So again, that's just a few of the things that can help you in promoting better sleep. Now, one of the misconceptions that people have is that if they were to wake up at night, if they are having issues falling asleep, they're like, let me do something I enjoy. We want to do the opposite. No, you're just like, I'm gonna go for a run. I hate running, so I'm gonna go for a run. No, no. But don't go and watch TV. Don't pick up a book and start reading something that you really want to do, because again, you don't want to have that correlation of I'm sleepy, let me do something I enjoy. But again, you're not gonna go and I'm gonna go take a mile run at 3 o'clock in the morning because I can't sleep. No, lay down, do some breathing exercises again, maybe go to the restroom, drink some water, just kind of either meditate and help ease yourself back to sleep. Now, if this is because of a medical condition or a side effect of medications and such, this is something that you might want to take up with your physician, with your doctor, your therapist, whoever it is that is providing you with care. But again, that understanding or correlation of, well, do something you enjoy. No, don't do that. Also, keep the bedroom sacred. Keep it for sleeping. There's some people that like to eat in bed, that like to watch TV, that like to do work. Again, as much as we're awesome up here and we use our brain even at 10% and some of us more, and though it puts us as different from other animals and such, our brain can really be tricked into thinking it's doing something else. So if you're doing all these other things in the bedroom, you're not going to have that association of bed equals sleep. I must fall asleep now, or this is time for sleep. We don't want to have those connections, because again, you're not going to build that consistency or that routine of when the bed is for sleeping. Got it. If I lay down in bed, all I do is fall asleep. Again, easier said than done in the majority of these issues, or the majority of these tips. But again, with building a routine can create consistency, which becomes a habit. All right. All right, let's be honest. How many of you guys have a car that has a couple of the lights on the dashboard on? Check engine, maybe right now the fuel, yeah. With everything that's happening around the world, I jumped on Costco yesterday to fuel up before gas prices skyrocket. So be mindful of that, right? So we're going to take this analogy and take it for our car. I mean, for our car, for our body, for our body. And just out of curiosity, when was the last time you went in for a tune-up or a checkup? When was the last time you went to go get just a physical, just to go see how all the pipes and all the whistles and everything are working in your celestial vehicle that we call our body, our temple, right? I'll be the first one. I had not done uh, any type of doctor. I despise going to the doctor because I don't like wasting my time, and I always feel that going to the doctors, it's going to be 2-3 hours of me sitting down doing nothing and then seeing somebody for 5 minutes. I don't like that. I'm the kind of person that sit there with my laptop checking emails and everything, and people are looking at you like you're weird. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to, be productive while I'm just sitting here on my butt. So, when's the last time you got checked up? When's the last time that you went in for a tune-up? Being completely real here, when at that point my fiance and I were planning on getting married and talking about having kids, you go and go get everything checked up. And this was in 2019. And in March of 2019, as the pandemic was about to start, I went to go do a physical and didn't anticipate what I heard. And they're like, hey, man, did you know that you're diabetic? That does well, no, I did not. I knew my weight was not at its best, and I knew that I sure as hell wasn't eating well. Pardon my French. And that was a very rude awakening. My blood sugar was through the roof. My A1C was, they basically said my liver was cooking itself in sugar. And it was a fire that got lit under my butt. I was like all the the Christmas tree dashboard kind of went off at that point in time. And so because I did that checkup, it really led to a change in, how I went about eating, how I went about exercising, so on and so forth. So I know that we don't like going to the doctor. I know that sometimes we feel we don't have time for the doctor. And as we get to the end, you'll see that this is something we got to take into consideration, that we need to take care of number one, right? Ourselves. That's not being selfish. That's just being responsible for ourselves. So do that. If you're able to, if you can, go in for a checkup. Go in just to get a physical done. Okay, keeping with the analogy of the car, what do you put in your tank? Do you put the good old regular, unleaded, premium? Do you go get the gas from Costco because it's cheaper? Because you got the membership and it takes 5 cents off or 10 cents off or whatever? Or do you, man, your car, then your body takes in only the premium? What I mean by that is, what kind of food do you eat? I get it. Sometimes we don't have time. I'm right there with you guys. Sometimes it's out of convenience. Totally understand it. But I recall my band director at UTEP, Dr. Treader, would tell us, so I can understand that you don't have time, so you grab this. I understand that you can't, basically there's these reasons as to why you can't. But then you don't understand why this happened. So I'm not putting the blame. I'm not saying, if anything, it's more of, we are responsible for ourselves, right? And so what we put in our body is eventually going to turn back and either make us or break us. And again, I was a guy that I would go to Whataburger and order the number 2 with bacon, cheese, jalapeno, avocado, extra nice and juicy. That sounds pretty good right about now. And then when it's like, oh, you're, no joke, when you're 360 pounds, you go like, I wonder how I got here. Well, no, I'm pretty sure I know how I got there. So what goes into the tank? And so what kind of things can we change about our eating routine? Now there's diets galore. There's this type of diet. There's a keto diet. There's a Mediterranean diet. There's the seafood diet. You see it, you eat it, right? Even alternatives. Instead of snacking on cookies, why don't you snack on grapes? Take some fruits. Do a smoothie. Be careful with all that information that is out there. Remember, some of these people have really good marketing teams, and they will make it seem like this is the best thing since sliced bread. So before you go about entering into a diet or this or that, do a little bit of research. Check up into it as to what really happens. Is it more of a counting calories? Is it about reducing the sugar intake? Is it about, my uncle lost a ton of weight, and all he says is like, I changed the way I eat, but I do a lot of walking. At night, I go walk and I come back. We hired a nutritionist that says, as long as you do maybe like 2 minutes or 10 minutes of like a good walk after you eat, that will help decrease the calories that you have. But just because that's what you had your intake in. Again, there is no one thing that works for everybody. So I am not going to sit here and be a prophet and say, oh, you have to do this. No, find something that works for you. I remember as a little kid, my mom used to say, if you're hungry, drink some water. If you're still hungry, then you really are hungry. If that subsides it, then you really weren't hungry. Hence my little bottle of water next to me nowadays. Drink a ton of water. Excuse me. Now, there's some people that affirm, well, I only eat in like a 6-hour window from 10 to 4 in the day. And once I get there, that's it. If I'm hungry in the evening, too bad, so sad. Some people that I don't eat until 3 hours after I wake up, and I don't eat 3 hours before I go to bed. Again, guys, everybody's body is different. Everybody has different issues, different responsibilities. We all wear different hats. It's be mindful of what works for you, right? But at least be mindful of that. Look at what is what is your body telling you? Before I was diagnosed with diabetes, I used to get this shooting pain, and if you can see my video, it would start up from the top of my left shoulder, kind of in the middle of the left shoulder, and it would shoot up to about halfway up the side of my left side of my brain. It would just kind of be like this shooting pain. I didn't know what that was. When I got diagnosed with diabetes, and then I got the little sugar reader that you can scan you with your phone. I realized that when my sugar was at about anything over 150 or beyond, that's when I would get that pain. So my body was telling me, "Yo, cool it, buddy, chill, take it down a notch." So are we listening to our vehicle? Are we listening to what our body is telling us, right? I always say that we're great at telling other people what to do, but then we don't take our own advice. Oh man, your knee hurts, man. Go check out by the doctor. I'm sure that they'll tell you this. Oh, this. Hey, you should go take this. Hey, you should do that. But then when it comes to it's like, I'm good. I got it. I got it. Listen to your body. You, of all people, know you. You know yourself. You know your limits. You know what your typical, your normal, wherein your body is purring, right? Going at full strength, and when there's those right, dude, there's a little sound on the motor there, or there's I think there's a little flat, there's a little hiss. You know your bodies. Listen to it, right? Take that initiative to just listen to your body a little bit more. Don't put it to deaf ears. Okay. So far, so good. We're still awake. We're still good. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns so far? All right. Let's keep it going. Okay. So when we talk about and the issue of mental health and mental illness comes out, there are times when those two words tend to be, or those two phrases tends to be used simultaneously or interchangeably, and that's not the case or should not be the case at all. Mental illness is a diagnosable condition. We have our lovely purple Bible, which I don't have with me, but it's the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual on Mental Health. And that delineates all the symptoms that are required for an individual to be diagnosed with a certain mental illness. When we talk about mental health, it could be the issues of adapting or the issues with managing or dealing with the everyday struggles that we might face. Case in point, if a student gets a bad grade on an exam and they go, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? This is horrible. I can't believe that." And it kind of throws a wrench into their day, right? They have a crummy day because they had a bad test grade. That's normal. If they go home and they're like, "Okay, you know what? Okay, I got this. Let me talk to a professor, see maybe they do some extra credit. Uh, I'll do much better on the next test. I got this. It's fine. It's cool." That's a typical reaction. That's a typical way of dealing and managing the situation. Even if it's 2 3 days later that they're still like, "You know what, damn, I still haven't talked to Silas about this. Oh man, I really hope that and still kind of, you know biting at them, but it goes away. That's typical. That's normal. Now, if that leads to something more consistent, where that thought is now driving their everyday activities. "Oh man, I really need to pass that next test. I really need to study more. I can't do this because I need to study. And then that shifts into affecting them in other areas, other facets of life, from at school to work to family to their friends. Well, then we're starting to look at, wow, okay, this is not just your mental health. This isn't just something that is, oh, you're managing and dealing. This is now affecting you much more. Now we can start thinking of anxiety possibly, and that is a mental illness. So there definitely is a difference between mental illness and mental health, and we want to make sure that we continue to express and to make sure that we give each its space. um, I wouldn't be the chair of the mental health committee if I didn't tell you and just gave a really quick update that at EPCC, from the top on down, we take mental health very seriously, and not just the mental health of faculty, staff, but of students as well, especially of students, to the point that we are working in bringing mental health services to each campus. Um, the mental health committee and a team that is led by Dr. Paula Mitchell is working on finalizing the steps on bringing somebody on board that's going to help us put together we don't have the name yet, but basically a mental health and social service center, kind of a one-stop shop for students to seek out assistance when they need assistance, where they can go talk to a mental health professional on their own campus. Again, the details are not solidified, the details are not set in stone, but that's something that we are definitely working towards, and something that should be coming down the pipeline. And I hope that you guys hear about it, and maybe I can come back and talk about the services that are provided for that once it comes to fruition. So, how do we continue to stay healthy, stay safe, but most importantly, stay sane, right? First and foremost, we are not machines. We are not robots. We are not Arnold. We are not the T-1000. We are not the EXO, whatever, the whoever. We are not robots. We are affected by various things. We wear multiple hats. We can go from extreme happiness to sorrow to stress to, and this all wears on us. Like I mentioned before, we know ourselves better than anyone else does. We might have loved ones that know us better, that they can be the ones that see something wrong in us, or that see when something is affecting us in a way that we might not see it. So it's not just about listening to our own body and our own vehicle. It's listening to our mechanic, right? Listening to the people that see us on a daily basis and see, hey, you all right? Everything okay? Yeah, why? Well, you just don't seem yourself today. Oh, no, it's nothing. If the people that see you on a daily basis feel and think there's something wrong, or there's something not quite there, there's probably something not quite well there. So again, just keep an ear open to hear those clinks and those dinks in the car. And to thine own self be true. Good old Shakespeare, right? Don't lie to yourself. Be honest. If we need assistance, if we need help, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. We need to, as I said earlier, take care of ourselves, self-care, whatever that might look like for you. So think about it. Have you sat down recently, or have you thought of, you know what? These are the things that I do when I get upset. This is what I can do to feel better, to pick myself up, to calm down. We used to do these all the time in the clinic with our patients, where we call them safety plans, right? And if we would say, okay, like if you were to get angry, and obviously these are individuals that had mental illnesses and had severe uh, bouts of anger or severe bouts of depression and such. But there's nothing wrong with, I can tell you right now that if I get upset, if I get angry, and if I am able to step away from the situation, I do. I just walk away, not like throw stuff around, but I just go like, you know what? Give me a sec, and I take a walk, and I decompress. As weird as it sounds, my wife thinks it's weird. I'll listen to Metallica. I'll listen to some heavy metal, some rock, some classic rock, preferably. Sometimes I'll listen to classical music. That calms me down. I'll watch a TED talk. Something to distract me. I have a very expensive hobby, that of building Lego sets. And as a child, I didn't think they were that expensive. As an adult, these suckers are, man, there's some these sets that go up to a couple $100. Yeah, they don't come easy once you have a baby. You really kind of go like, do I really need that? Nah, I think we need diapers. So find a hobby, find something that you enjoy doing, something that will get your mind away. Um, in class, we talk about systems, right? The things the groups that we share common interests, things with. In a family, there's various systems. You have the parental system, which is the parents, right? And you have the kiddos, the kids, and there's commonalities that you share. The parents, well, hopefully adults. Maybe sometimes you don't act like adults, but you're the adults of the family. The siblings, where they're the minors, unless you have, like, again, kids that think they're adults but still act like kids. And so you might have the brothers and the sisters. So you have the brother system and the sister system. You have the male system and the female system, all the boys and all the girls. So it's okay sometimes to just have conversations with your spouse and to just have conversation with your kids, because we don't all share similar things. And sometimes the kids don't need to know what mom and dad are talking about. And sometimes kids need their space. It's okay for them to, hey, I need it. My brother is around my same age, my sister this, they know what I'm talking about, they get me. They I can trust in them. Do things as a family. If you need to get out, go for a walk. I right now I'm sitting in our home office turned into kind of like the kids playroom. I can see outside into our street. In the evenings, if I'm sitting here either doing a lecture or preparing something for class, I'll see families going for a walk. They'll take everybody. I mean, you see them pushing grandma in a wheelchair, you see them with a dog and the whole family. And it's not even, they're not jogging, they're just walking, and they go up and down the street. It's a great way to just kind of get away from the house. There's no cell phones, there's no technology, you're just talking. Maybe if it's not windy and if it's not cold, right? But it's okay to make a list about the things that you enjoy, the things that you like to do, the things that can help you feel better, that will help you decompress. And last but not least, a strong you, right? And like I stated, or like the title of my presentation, it's not just a catchphrase. It's not, El Paso strong, EPCC strong, Tejano strong, Minor strong, whatever strong. It's not just a catchphrase. You are better, your family is better, your coworkers are better, everyone's better when we all are at our best. So at home, how can you be the best you? How can you be the strongest you? Well, see what some of the issues at home are, right? Do you not have enough time to spend with everybody? Are you spending too much time at work, at school? Do you have too much work to do? Are you not saying no enough, right? Do you take on too many tasks? Guilty. There's times where I'll be like, oh yeah, and then I look and I'm like, oh my God, wait, I have a meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. Then I go to class and then I have another meeting. Then I got to do this. Okay, I'll eat sometime between. Again, when we think of staying strong, and in this case, physically strong, we need some time for ourselves, right? At the end of the day, we are expandable. And again, this might be a little too out there, but if something were to happen to us, we are replaced, whether it be at school, whether it be at work. I don't want to say at home. That's really like morbid, but we'll just say that one's at work and school. How's that? We won't bring home into it. But think of what things you can do to be the better you at each of these places. What can you do to be the better you at home, the better you at school, the better you at work? And do not, by once in any second or any point in time, think that strength comes from me. I must be strong. I will do this on my own. I will take this on my own. Being alone or doing things by yourself does not equate strength, right? Can you lift weights and all that stuff? Yeah, that's strength. That's physical strength. But believe me, as a therapist, as a mental health professional, the majority of the patients that make a full recovery, or not a full recovery, but that they progress well in their treatment, have a strong support system in place, be it family, be it friends, be it a good relationship with an entity outside of that, at work. They do better we're packs, man. We're creatures of we need to be in groups, right? And so even with family, what can we do to make sure that there's that strength there? How can we, and then by us being strong, how can we make everybody else stronger? Something like this is like, I feel good. I'm good. Let me share that with people. Am I the best one to talk about health and such? No, but you know what? I got something that maybe someone hasn't heard before. Maybe I have a different perspective than someone hasn't been put or hasn't been told in a certain way. But at the same time, I am aware that some people might see this or hear this and be like, it's just the same stuff everybody else says. Well, if it's the same stuff that everybody else says, that should be a hint that maybe that's what needs to be done. Right now. But all sarcasm aside, guys, in all reality, this is the tip of the iceberg in regards to how to how to stay strong, how to be strong. Again, it's not just mind, body, and soul, however you want to put it. It's about the relationships you have, right? The places where you reside in, at home, at work, at school, because those are the places where you're spending the majority of your time. And so think of, how are those times being spent? Are they being spent always like, oh, I hate it here. Oh, this sucks. Oh my God. Here comes this guy. Oh, get they shut up already. So how is that really helping us be strong? So I'll leave you with this. Above all, remember, you got this. Nothing is insurmountable. There is always a silver lining in everything and anything. Um, uh, Full disclosure, last semester was a very rude awakening for me. Again, from being diagnosed with diabetes in 2019, fixing my eating habits and everything, going from 360 pounds, dropping down to I'm about 240 now. Um, my eyesight has gotten better because of that. And then last semester, during August, or in August of 2021, um, diagnosed with cancer, to the point that I had a surgery to remove a growth. Went through chemo, still taught. Probably, I mean, I ended up in the ER for a week with 104-degree temperature because of the chemo resulting from chemo. Um, it was horrible, but my stubborn self wasn't doing what I just told you all to do. And I'm not saying this as a shock factor and, oh my goodness, no, 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 no. I'm just telling you, I should have done what I'm asking, well, not asking, but what I'm talking about. I should have listened to my body. I should have done a checkup. I should have. Now it's my wife's like, hey, I'm like, let me schedule a doctor's appointment for this. I just got back today from the ophthalmologist, right, to get new glasses, because these puppies are old. These are like vintage glasses. I mean, I don't think the lenses even work anymore. But got my glasses, going to a low vision specialist, have a urologist, have oncologist, all these ologists that I didn't know I would eventually go to. But I don't think twice now about it. I also, when taking on tasks, I'm like, can I really manage doing that? Can I really take that on? Do I want to take that on? And I've really said no more in the past couple of months than I have in my entire career. It sucks because I'm the kind of person, I'm like, hell yeah, man, let's do this. Oh, I got this. And I do got this. But I also got to watch myself, right? Like I said before, got to take care of numero uno, not being selfish, being responsible, have a baby boy, have a family, having a job. That's my responsibility. Anywho, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, be me, do this. No, 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 no. So I know we're like right on the time. Oh, look at that, 149, right at 150. So, you know me, again, I can't go without bragging about my little papito. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Sorry. That's my little papacito, my little Edward. Look at that, papas. Oh, hermoso. Uh, but by all means, guys, anything and anything, do not hesitate. Please never hesitate to reach out, even if it's like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Hey, what's cracking? Everything. Hope everything's well. Or hey, you think can you talk about this? Can you anything and everything, guys? I'm always open. My name again, Salas. My email here at EPCC, csalas69@epcc.edu. My office, Valle Verde A1102. He most definitely is. He most definitely is. And my office number 831-2469. Again, anything and any however I can be of service, by all means, please do not hesitate in reaching out. Whoops. Eventually I get this right where I can just you know what? I'm just gonna stop. There. I'm gonna stop.
Mr. Salas. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Salas? No? Okay. Well, I would like to do something. If our audience would like to do it with me, I'd like to give an emoji round of applause for Mr. Salas for his wonderful work today. So if you have a second and you would like to show him your appreciation, send him a message in the chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Salas, for being here today. I always enjoy your session, and this was no exception. So I really appreciate you coming out, even though I know you were up so very early.
That's right. You got my email like at 3 a.m.
Yes, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any questions for Mr. Salas? All right. If not, I'm going to put the Tejano passport code one more time into the chat for you guys, just in case you missed it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll share this week's TVs and next week's TVs. All right. So today we already watched the Mental Health Committee on Staying Strong with Mr. Salas, who again did a wonderful job. And then later on today at 3 o'clock in the same room, we're going to have for Math 1314, we're going to go over synthetic division and complex numbers. And then for Math 1324, we're going to be solving exponential and logarithmic equations. Now, if you're not in Math 1314 or Math 1324, you can still attend these sessions because you might be in Cal 1 or something and you just don't remember logarithmic equations. Well, it might be good to come in for a refresher. Also, I'd like to share with you next week's TVs. So in this very room at 1 o'clock for our academic success series, we're going to have Fitness by Jeremy Perales. And then at 3 o'clock, we're going to be going over finding zeros of polynomial functions and simple and compound interest annuities. Again, another session that you could come to just if you want to know more about it. Maybe you're buying a house. Maybe you're looking into a car. Simple and compound interest annuities and knowing how to calculate it might come in handy. So anyway, I'd like to wish you all a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for coming.